Hello, this is Brian Kidd with unriddler.com. We are talking about the SAP ALV grid today, and in this section, we'll be discussing how we can arrange the columns to meet our needs. This is a kind of a teaser as to what we're going to be talking about later in the course, but I want to show at the very beginning how easy it is to move the columns around. We'll see how to do this through the change layout dialog, but in this section I'm going to use the screen and make the changes directly on the screen. As you can see here, I have the posting date, the cost element, and the cost element name, but if I choose to only see the cost element or cost element name first rather than the posting date, I can easily move the posting date to another section by clicking on the header, and I typically click one time to select the header and then click again and drag it across, and you can see on my mouse that on the cursor that there is a perforated uh, box below that that indicates that we're dragging, and you'll also see the red line currently between the cost element and the cost element name that basically shows me if I were to drop this posting date column where my mouse cursor is now, it's going to be between the cost element and the cost element name. Well, I do not want it there. I want it to the right of the cost element name. So I'm going to move over farther, and we'll see that once I get over to the document type column header, my red line has moved to indicate that the column will be moved between the cost element name and the document type. So based on that, that is where I want it. So from there, I'm going to simply let go of the left mouse button and drop it there. So after doing that, you can see that I've actually moved the posting date over to another part of the report where I would prefer having it. I'm going to show that one more time. Let's say that I've made a mistake and I actually do want the posting date first. Again, I click on the mouse, click with the mouse on the column header, and then from there I click again on the column header, but instead of just clicking once, I click and hold down. And while I'm holding down, I drag over to the place that I want it. And although I don't see the red line there, by default, the column will be dropped wherever the mouse cursor is, the column that the mouse cursor is currently hovering over. It's going to drop that column to the left of that. So because I'm on the cost element column and dropping it, it's going to put the posting date to the left of the cost element column. So let me drop that, and you can see again that I have now moved the column to the location that I want it. Now, uh, it's nice that we have the cost element and the cost element name here, because there may be times that we want to move two columns together. And in this case, I have the cost element, which is beneficial, but it's also beneficial to see the name. And if I choose to move both of these columns, I can also do that quite easily by again clicking on the cost element column header. But here, instead of clicking once, releasing, and then clicking again to move that single column, I'm going to drag over from this cost element to the left by holding down the left mouse button. And you can see that I've now selected both of these columns. Once I release it, now I have both columns selected, and I can choose to move both columns by selecting the first column and then dragging that over. And you can see again my red line, and it's indicating that if I were to drop it here, it would be between the document type and the value and reporting currency. But let's say that I want to actually move it to the right of the value and reporting currency. I can just hover over this column, and you can see my red line. Once I let go and drop it, you can see that both columns that I had selected have now been moved over. So that's just a little taste of how easy it is to manipulate the ALV grid. We'll be talking about how to move these columns later, but using the change layout dialog.